Hi, welcome to the Cyber Center for Biblical Studies. My name is Scott Barger. I am the pastor at New Horizon Community Church in Warsaw, Indiana, and today we are continuing our conversation on how to choose a seminary. During our last video, we talked about some things to investigate and to consider before you ever visit a seminary. This time, we're going to be talking about maybe things to ask and investigate while you visit your seminary. So we're here today with Dr. Bateman. And Dr. Bateman, you never visited the seminary, you said in the last video.
No, we got into a truck and had a map as to how to get to Dallas, Texas, and with all our belongings, jumped in this truck, drove to Dallas, and when we got there, it was the first time I had stepped on campus. I even
Sight unseen.
Sight unseen.
And this is before the invention of the internet, so you couldn't even go and see fancy videos or anything like that of Dallas.
Had no idea.
But you got lucky.
I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate. It was a very good experience and a good school.
Well, like we like to say at the Cyber Center of Biblical Studies, do as we say, not as we do, and so, or what we've done. And so we wouldn't recommend that course of action, would we? You're going to have to do some sort of investigation, and perhaps even an on-site visit to the campus would be beneficial. Why do you think so?
Well, because of the cost of education today, and when I think about moving from South Jersey to Texas, that's a big expense. Mm-hmm. Uplifting family, moving to a totally different state, never seeing the school, never meeting any of the faculty. That's probably ill-advised today. At that time, there weren't as many evangelical seminaries available. Today, there are far more that you have to choose from. But accreditation becomes very important within a seminary. And it's very wise that when you go and visit a seminary, you might inquire about their accreditation. Generally, your catalog will tell you they are an accredited school. But once you get there, you may want to make an inquiry about their accreditation.
Well, who would you talk to during your visit to ask about accreditation?
You can begin with by asking your recruiters that you may, who will set up a visit. Many times schools will have recruiters and they will make it possible and arrange for you to meet with faculty. You might ask them, you might ask the faculty themselves, a faculty member that you're dealing with. If you have an opportunity to meet with the provost or perhaps maybe even a dean of the school, you might ask the dean of the school. And you might ask this question about accreditation. Are you on probation for any reason? Typically, a school could be placed on probation for a 5-year period for at least 2 reasons that I have experienced and am aware of in seminaries. One could be assessment. The accreditation tends to be concerned to make sure that what a school promises in a catalog, they actually deliver on the other end. If you say you're going to do X, Y, and Z for a student, when the student is finished, can he do X, Y, Z? And there needs to be some type of way of measuring their abilities, their skill level, and what they've achieved.
So the accrediting organization will look at those kind of assessments, and if the effective assessments aren't in place, they may put an institution on probation to give them time to establish these kind of assessments.
That's exactly right. Another issue that sometimes a school could be placed on probation would be for financial reasons. A school may have overextended themselves within a building project. They may have built their faculty too quickly. It could be their salaries for faculty and staff are too low. And so there are times when those type of things happen when an accreditation will put a school on probation. So when that happens, the school is given an opportunity to correct it. And so as somebody who finds out that a school is on probation, whether it be for accreditation or finances or whatever it is, you can inquire, well, what steps are you taking to ensure that you're going to get your accreditation? Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to come here, get started in the program, you lose your accreditation.
Right, because maybe for some churches, a degree from an accredited seminary isn't, a top priority, but for some ministry opportunities, it really is. Thinking specifically of hospital chaplains, military chaplains, you want to make sure that the degree program you begin is going to give you a degree from an accredited organization. So to ask about those things would be wise.
Extremely wise. And then there's always that fear that the school will close. Mm-hmm. And I know of 2 situations where schools have closed and students were left scrambling. Now, to the credit of the institutions, they did try to arrange things for those students to get their degree and complete their degree at a sister school. Mm-hmm. But why go through that hassle if you can prevent something like that?
Sure. So you go and you ask about accreditation, which would give you a kind of barometer for the overall, let's say, health of the institution. But what else would you be looking for? You go to a visit. Because we talked in our last video that there are going to be some things that a school will publish on a website or in a catalog about the programs they offer, that you may find out more information by talking to someone in person, if not face to face, then at least on a phone call. Accreditation is one. What would another one be?
Would be courses. Generally, you can see how a degree program lays out its courses. Generally, 15 credit hours per semester. It is possible that there could be 16 or 17 credit hours per semester. But you always want to, once you see what those credit hours are and how each semester is laid out, what might be good to inquire on the site would be how many students actually finish the degree program in the 2 years that it's allotted, or the 3 years that it's allotted, or in the case at Dallas Theological Seminary, when you're going to the Masters of Theology, the 4-year master program, how many students who are taking these courses full-time actually finish within that 4, 3, or 2-year time frame?
Is it feasible for a student to take 15 or 16 credit hours per semester? Or how many students are actually doing that?
That is correct.
Right.
It is very helpful to know how many students actually finish that are going to school full time. I went to school full time. Mm-hmm. So that was my occupation. Mm-hmm. I worked every now and then. I would work 10 or 20 hours as a TA, a teacher's assistant, or some other job for book money. Mm-hmm. But I was a full-time student, and I did get through in 4 years at Dallas, but I had to go to summer school because there were times that the semester was so packed because of the nature of the courses I would take that those courses required a little bit more time of me, and I just couldn't do all those courses in one semester.
Sure.
So that would be something to inquire. Now, in all fairness to the institution, it's also helpful to, when you ask that question and they go to give an answer to you, you may want to ask how many students are actually full-time students. Because there are some students that go to school that they want to work full-time, they want to have a family, they want to buy new cars, and they want to go to school full-time as well. They want it all. They want to do it all, they want it all.
You just can't do that.
And you can't do it. It's unrealistic, and in all fairness to an institution, if you're trying to work full-time, you can't take full-time courses. We're going to come back to this later on when we talk about the 3 R's of being a student.
Sure.
But in the meantime, recognize that not all students are full-time students.
That's true.
They're trying to balance things.
Yeah, and which brings to mind, in my experience at seminary, what the financial aid department considered to be full-time was 9 credit hours or more. But what the program required full-time was 15. And so you may want to inquire about that. What do you mean by full-time? How many credit hours is a typical student taking? How long is this 2-year degree going to take me? I know my 3-year degree, I had to cram that into 4 years because of the same reasons that you said. And you're right. If you're taking a spouse with you, you're dragging them across the country to the seminary, honey, how long are we going to be there? Well, that's a good question that you want to answer and answer honestly.
Right. Yeah. And those type of questions you can ask to a faculty member. You can ask those type of questions to a dean if you have an opportunity to meet with a dean. and you can ask those type of questions to somebody who works in a recruiting office. And it's not a bad idea to ask more than just one person to get a feel and see if there's any similarities in these answers.
So, speaking of faculty, I imagine that is something else that you could investigate maybe more thoroughly in person than through a catalog. You know, they're going to be all gussied up with their Sunday best for the catalog. What are some things that you can maybe learn from meeting with faculty face-to-face during an in-person visit?
Well, there's two things that might be helpful to inquire about when meeting with faculty. If you have an opportunity to go to lunch with faculty, one thing you might be able to inquire about is, what does the school do to encourage faculty development? Faculty are an asset to the school. Remember, this is a business, and your faculty are an asset. They are a drawing card for why students might want to choose and come and study at that particular institution. So it is helpful to know how valuable are these faculty to this institution. How do they demonstrate the fact they value their faculty? And one thing that you may inquire about is, how does the school encourage you to continue to keep up in your field of study? Do they help you go to conferences? Do they give you time off to go to conferences? Do they help pay for that conference? Do they provide sabbaticals for you? Are they paid sabbaticals? Are they half-paid sabbaticals? You might ask, do they encourage you to write? Do they give you reduced workloads in order to write? So that they can stay abreast in their field. Because if they're learning, they're going to come to the classroom sharing things that they have learned with you. And what you want to do is you want to study under men and women who are just as eager and committed to studying Scripture or studying in their field, because that's the way you're going to be. And hopefully that's going to rub off to you.
Sure. Do you think that there's value during an on-site visit in attending classes or getting a chance to talk with other students?
Yes, and that was going to be the second thing I was going to bring up about faculty.
Yeah.
How much interaction do faculty have with students?
Right.
Now, once again, you need to use wisdom. You got to be somewhat humble about this, because it's very easy as a faculty member to be burned by students.
Sure.
And many faculty are more than willing to meet with students and be vulnerable with students and share with students. But all you have to do is get burned a few times where the student runs off and tattles on you or distorts something, and faculty start to withdraw. Most seminaries encourage faculty to interact with students. And so that's going to be a given. You're going to have your administration, your recruiters telling you that this is something that the school would be helpful when you're meeting with faculty or meeting with people. How do faculty interact with students? For myself, I would have students over. We'd have a pizza party on a Friday night, or we would have a barbecue in my backyard, and we'd serve one of our favorite dishes in our families, the Texas Tommies, and students learn about Texas Tommies, and so there were always those type of things I try to incorporate. Having lunch with students, just going out and having coffee. Find out what faculty actually do, but recognize that faculty can be pretty cautious because they may have been burned. And my hope is you won't be one of those.
Sure.
As a student.
Yeah, I just remember when I went to seminary initially, my on-site visit, my guide was a faculty member who didn't really teach in the seminary that much. And so in retrospect, I don't know, I think he gave me a good tour of the campus, but I don't know how many questions he was able to answer accurately about the seminary. Then later, as I was investigating schools for postgraduate work, I did a visit to Purdue University, and there my tour guide was a grad student. And she was much more, I think, capable of answering the kind of questions that were important to me because she herself was a student.
And that's the other thing. If you get an opportunity to roam campus, they give you any free time to let you roam. Go to lunch or see if there's any students sitting around and ask a student, how do you like going here?
Sure.
What are the things that you really appreciate?
Yeah.
If there's something they don't like, they're going to tell you. You don't even have to ask. But focus on the positive. What do you really like most about this school? And eventually, if there's anything that they're disappointed in, it'll come up in the conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably there may be one other item we might want to talk about, and I probably should have raised it concerning courses, and that might be internet opportunities, internet learnings. Because more and more schools are turning to putting courses on the internet.
Right.
One of the things you might investigate concerning internet learning is how long have they been in the process? There's a difference between teaching within a classroom to a live audience and teaching on the internet. Mm-hmm. So it may be helpful to know how long have they been in this? And then who is it that's doing the internet learning? Mm-hmm. I know of one institution that it's all made up of adjunct, and there are people in the doctoral program that are all but dissertation, they're all done except for the writing of their dissertation. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're just interested in getting by and just getting through the course, that might be the way to go. Mm-hmm. But you may want to investigate that. You're paying good money. That might be something to investigate as well.
Very good, very good. Well, we do hope that you've enjoyed the second video, trying to give you some advice. Dr. Bateman, we appreciate your time and your words of, if not wisdom, words of insight from your experiences. And also to you, the viewers, thank you for taking time to watch the video. We hope it was also beneficial to you. Thanks until next time. I'm Scott Barger, and this is Dr. Bateman.